Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Independent Presents, our year-round screening and Q&A series, now both in person and virtual. I'm Brian Sheehan with Film Independent. Thank you so much for joining us today. First off, I'd like to thank some of our supporters, our lead sponsor, the HFPA, our official screening partner, Vision Media, and our supporting sponsor, Showtime. Again, thank you for joining us to talk all things Showtime's American Rust, which premieres on Sundays only on Showtime. Today, we have a special guest moderator with Janelle Riley from Variety. And without further ado, I will let her take it away from here.
Hi, my name is Janelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and I'm thrilled to welcome today's guests from American Rust. Please welcome Jeff Daniels and Maura Tierney. Thank you both so much for being here.
Man can have two reasons for doing the right thing. You'd rather I left you out of this going forward, I get it.
From the sky,
Just do your job, and I'll watch out for you.
hand of God coming from the sky.
Because I love you.
This case is poisoning my town.
Now, whenever I have people as accomplished as you are, I actually like to go back to the beginning and ask, what was your first job in this industry? The first time that you felt you could call yourself a professional actor? And let's start with Maura.
Okay. Well, my first
It
job.
can be the worst one. It can be the worst one too.
It wasn't the worst. My
'Cause
first.
I got a bad one. Yeah.
Oh, good. We love the bad ones.
Mine was called Student Exchange, and it was a TV movie back in the day when there were actual TV movies. It was like Sunday night movie of the week or something like that. I played a mean cheerleader.
Really?
Yeah.
This Student Exchange sounds like it could be a horror film, but that can't be right?
No, it does sound like that, but it wasn't. It was about these two really unpopular kids who pretended they were exchange students, and then all of a sudden they were very popular. But I, as the mean cheerleader, was like, smells fishy. So I worked to expose the student exchange students. It was good.
It actually sounds good. I'd love to look this up.
It was a cute movie.
Jeff, what about for you? You said it's bad, so now I'm excited.
Well, I was thinking of the job I took. I moved to New York when I was 21, and I thought I needed a job to be that actor with a day job, and that so I didn't know what I was qualified. So I went up to the Times Square. Burger King was hiring, and I became they couldn't believe it that I had gone to college, that I was completely overqualified to play the guy over at 44th and Lexington Avenue that would be putting the buns on the conveyor belt to make the Whopper buns. And I wanted that job because I thought actors should have jobs. I lasted 8 hours.
I was going to say how long.
It was horrible. The first, acting job, one of the first that I remember there was the popular movie Breaking Away. Dennis Quaid, biker, 10-speed bikers, was real popular. And they were going to make a TV series of it with Sean Cassidy. So I went down to Atlanta and played one of the frat boys that was a problem for Sean Cassidy.
Oh,
You were both
mean cheerleader.
troublemakers.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Interesting.
You were both the popular kids.
Yeah. I also did a movie called Dead Women in Lingerie.
Now that sounds like a horror film. Tell me that one's a horror film.
It's supposed to be.
Oh, I got to get that one.
I think an accountant directed it. I'm not sure.
These are great. You're giving me great recommendations for the evening. I appreciate it. But look how far you've both come. You're now starring in Showtime's American Rust. This is based on Philip Meyer's acclaimed debut novel. How did you first become aware of this story, and what interested you in the project and specifically your roles? And let's start with Jeff, because you're also an executive producer on the project.
Yeah, only because I found the book. This was 2005, and Philip Meyer had written it, and we went down to a reading in Manhattan and at a bookstore, and there's this new writer, and my agent at the time, now manager, kind of bird dogged the book over the years. And when I got in a position to get things made, we kind of brought out American Rust, and Showtime was willing to do it. And it reminded me of a lot of the people that I grew up with and worked with when I was at my dad's lumber company. And so I knew these guys. I am one of those guys. So that's what kind of brought me to it. And then we went to get the best people we could, which was kind of, as executive producer, all I did.
That's a lot, by the way. You're saying
Well, that's a lot, but it's all aiming at the actors and making sure we get really good people. And other than that, I was really hands off. I let the writers write and the directors direct and the designers design.
That sounds like a great producer, though. Someone who finds material and makes it happen and helps cast it and then gets out of the way.
Hire really good people and then get out of their way and turn them loose. Try not to tell them how to do their jobs. That should be planted on every executive producer's forehead.
Now, having seen the first episode, yeah, go ahead.
When you say you went to a reading, I've heard you say this before. You didn't just happen upon it. It was your agent that said, let's go see this reading.
Yeah, Paul was at ICM in New York, big agency, and like a William Morris kind of thing. And they have a lit department, and I think they were kind of looking at Philip Meyer. ICM was aware of it, and Paul said, "Come on, we're going down to this reading." A reading of what? A book. Come on, you'll love it. Okay.
Okay.
So you just read a couple passages from the book and you were hooked?
Not hooked, but like, oh yeah, a really good book. Got the book, he signed it, read it. Oh yeah, this is really good. But no, I was not in any position, especially 2005, to get anything made anywhere. I was still trying to stay in the business, in a lot of ways, and stay interested in the business. It wasn't until after Newsroom and a few others that, my agent, now, Eddie, said, yeah, we could do this, we could do that, or we could do that, but what do you want to do? It was like, oh, wow, I want to do American Rust. Let's see if we can't get that made. Off we went.
I'm a big believer in things happening at the right time for the right reason, because this story could not feel more timely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the opioids, the fentanyl, a lot of people in this country are at the bottom, and if they aren't at the bottom, they can see it from where they are.
And they're very disenfranchised. A lot of the country is yeah.
So Maura, how did you find the script? Was it sent to you? Did you instantly respond to this character? What was sort of your reaction when you read it?
I did. I say this, I did respond. It was, a lot of it was the pieces attached to it, which was Jeff, which was Dan Futterman, I had worked with his wife on The Affair. I loved working with her as a writer. So I knew him a little bit. But there was a real excitement around all my people, like my representation were like, you need to read this and you need to do this. And the executives from Showtime were texting me saying, everybody was very excited about the project, as was I, but there was a certain buzz around it that felt exciting that I think contributed greatly.
You mentioned the showrunner, Dan Futterman, who also, I think, maybe wrote most of the episodes, if not all. He's also an executive producer. Jeff, you worked with him on The Looming Tower. Did you bring this project to him?
I did. I worked with Dan Futterman, who also brought on Adam Rapp, and they were both on Looming Tower. I'd had it. It was at what is Boat Rocker, which is the production company that was trying to get it made somewhere. And, they brought me a couple young people who were up and coming and maybe had done an indie film and HBO loves them and it'll really help us get it made. I said, yeah, but I need people who know what they're doing. I don't need to train anybody. I'm too old. So let me take it to Dan Futterman. I think Dan might respond to it. And if he does, I'll stay interested. If not, good luck with it. And Futterman loved it. And I said, if you love it, I'm in. And he did. And then he just took the ball and ran. He's the one who got it sold to Showtime. And he's the engine behind this thing. But he needed to love not only the book, but what he could do with the book. and he did. And Gandolfini, I did a play with Jim Gandolfini, and I near the end of God of Carnage, and I said, I'm thinking about getting into TV. Movies are drying up. I don't want to be in a comic book movie. He goes, if you're going to go do TV, get yourself a good writer. I got David Chase. Later on, I got lucky with Sorkin and Scott Frank, and then Futterman, and I just went after Danny, and I just said, you don't have to worry about the writing. He's going to know how to not only write but show run the show, and exit. My job is done. So once he said yes, I knew we were going to take a run at it.
And Dan started as an actor, or I should say he had a very established acting career before becoming an Oscar-nominated screenwriter.
Danny has acted, yes.
Yeah. Do you think that gives him a special, I just think he has such a great ear for dialogue. I wonder if maybe, his acting history makes him so appealing to actors.
Well, they also were kind of doing a film noir thing with it. That John Dahl who was one of the directors on it, and he directed a lot of the episodes. They were doing that with it. I think it helps to have dabbled in the other areas, or had some work in those areas. I think you're a better writer if you've acted and directed. I think you're a better director if you've acted and written. It informs everything. I know as a playwright, I get smarter about the writing and story structure having written, and that informs me as an actor. It doesn't mean I go in and tell everybody how to do their jobs, but I know what they're trying to do here. Where if I were just an actor, I can think of movies where I just didn't know what was going on, and I either just did what they said or whatever. But it was. It's probably informs him. And what really informs him is that once you see me and Maura do Del and Grace, and you're one of the writers, now you got 6, 7 episodes, now 9 episodes of what we did with Del and Grace. Now you're tailoring season 2, if we get one, you're tailoring it for us like you would a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of theater, when a playwright would get an eye on an actor, and the next 6 months later you've got a part in his play, and he's been watching you in the rehearsal room or the acting class. That's what Futterman and Rapp and company are going to get to do if we get a second season. And they were kind of doing it during the show, but they're going to be so much more informed, as we are, on who these people are.
You mentioned your characters, Del and Grace, and they share this history that we're a little bit privy to, but also you have this fantastic chemistry together. I'm curious, did that develop naturally? I don't believe you've worked together before.
Mm-mm.
No.
Was it fairly instantaneous, or?
We're just each unbelievably charismatic.
You're joking, but it's true.
No, I don't know. We like to work the same way. And the story I tell is Jeff sent me an email before we started, and it was very kind words and saying happy to have me on board. And he said, I'm not much for chatting, but happy to chat if you want, or we can just jump off the cliff. And I wrote back, I'm not much for chatting either, happy to jump. And so we were on the same page that way. So I don't know. I felt there was a certain honesty in that email that translated all the way through. So that helped, I think.
There's also a respect for each other. Certainly me to Maura. She's not bad. I remember telling Emma Thompson, you never suck. You're always great. And Maura's the same way. And so going in that you're not going to have to worry about her, that she can deliver the goods. And so, like Maura, it's more about the 3 kids. They're younger, they're in their 20s. They may need some guidance on how to handle doing a series, which is not easy, but not Maura. And so I looked forward to those scenes, as I did with Bill Camp, where you're with a vet, you're with a pro. And now maybe we can make it look like, not only maybe we can make it look like it's happening for the first time in front of the camera, but make it happen for the first time in front of the camera. And with that, which Maura knows really well, is about trust. And that's what happened on this. trust.
I mean, you do have such a fantastic ensemble. You mentioned Bill Camp. I love Rob Yang. I want to talk about Alex Newstetter, who plays Grace's son, Billy. He is very fantastic in such a pivotal role. And having just seen the first episode, people can see, how well you both get to work with him. I'm sort of curious about, if there was, it sounds strange, but because it's such a vital role, was there any kind of a chemistry read with any of you? Or do you just know, when you book a good actor, that it's going to work?
Not with me, but I think I came on after he did. So I don't know about Jeff.
Yeah, it's chemistry is just two people listening to each other, and because they have to. And when you don't have rehearsal and you're going to use take one, you get. I told the kids at the dinner a year before we did it, when we were there for Pittsburgh for 24 hours. And then we got pulled because of the pandemic. We went out to dinner before we all left. And I said, get off book, memorize it, know it backwards so that on take one we can use it. Because you're going to get 2 takes, maybe 3. Got to move. So come in ready, know it, know what you're going to do with it. And they did. Those kids did that. And now you can sit there with them and you both know where you are in the scene. And now you can kind of read each other and use each other in front of the camera grabs it, you're done. I mean, Clint Eastwood, that's all. He uses 1 take. For 1 take, that's Clint. And I think part of that is to make it happen for the first time in front of the camera, and that's what he wants. Whatever that is, that's Clint. With us, it's more just kind of trusting each other because you haven't rehearsed and you got to read each other and use each other. Next thing you know, you're listening and you're reacting and you have chemistry. And everybody wonders how you got it. That's pretty much how you do it. You take the mirror down. That's what you do.
I'm curious, both these characters are very complex, as we've seen just from the first episode. Del is dealing with PTSD. He's self-medicating to help. It's a situation that is all too common in America. What sort of research did each of you do to sort of play these characters? And how much was the book a resource?
Maura?
I didn't read the book.
Okay.
Okay.
On purpose.
That's her process. That's her thing.
It's my prerogative, but because I wanted to base how I built the character on like the teleplays. I wanted to base who she was on what Danny and Adam wrote. And I thought about it and I just thought, I don't want to start envisioning who she is before I see who they wrote. So I sort of avoided that because I didn't want it to get into my head, or also like, wait, this happened in the book. Why isn't it happening now? Or why is this happening instead of that not happening? I just didn't want to be married to that as how I started work on the character.
And the book is different. I mean, we did some different things. And Del and Grace's relationship is, there's less at stake in the book than there is in the show. And so I read it, of course, and you take what you can from it. And I read some other stuff just to get a feel for Pittsburgh authors who are writing about Pittsburgh and all that. So just get a feel of it. Read about opioids so you know what that's going on. And then forget it all. Put it in the back, so it's back there somewhere. It's not like, you're trying to act your research. It's just kind of to help you get pointed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's become kind of a cliche to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The location in this is really a character. You're shooting in, it's set in a very specific Rust Belt, Pennsylvania town. I'm curious actually where you really shot and how that maybe helped you access these characters.
Monheason, that town. I think there's another town called Braddock. I mean, we shot in some towns that were just completely broken. Like everything was closed, just broken. A town that was left to rust, essentially. And I also did do some research about the opioid crisis, but to be there, and this wasn't to do with drugs, but to see complete towns just devastated. And it was more than one. In one of the towns we shot in, the factory had just closed, I think, a year and a half ago. Like being there, it was really impactful. Yeah.
Yeah, you can feel it. You look around, you see it. Um, a lot of the crew was from Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
and you just listen. I mean, they're great people, and they work their butts off. And but it's different than, say, New York or L.A. It's not just the Midwest; it's Southwest Pennsylvania, and you just listen. You're also always absorbing, whether it's the locations of that you just look and you go, oh my God, there's no way we could even build Cary Furnace where the murder takes place in the first episode, but you just have to look around. And I remember doing Gettysburg and wondering how I was going to do a certain scene, and then somebody said, just look, and there were like 700 extras on horses and cannons and all that, and you're going, oh, NAR, no acting required, just look. Yeah, so a lot of that. I mean, you get into some of these towns that Paul Martino, who found the book, he saw an episode. And he saw a scene where Maura goes to find her ex-husband who's stacking up with somebody, and she kicks the door down. One, he was impressed by her ability to kick a door down, but two, the street that she was on. He said, "My God, you can't build these sets."
Mhm.
And it was not a great town. It was one of those towns that had been abandoned. So yeah, it's as much a character in the thing as we are.
Sort of the flip side of immersing yourself in that world. This is some fairly heavy material you're dealing with. Are you the kind of actors who take your work home with you, or are you able to leave your characters behind at the end of the day?
I think both for me. I mean, both, but because of COVID, we shot this script so out of order. Like we'd be shooting scenes from episode 2. I think Jeff, I learned recently in the first week, shot a scene from episode 9, right?
Yeah, one scene. Yeah.
So we were like all over the place filming several episodes at once during a week. And so sometimes if I had a lot to do and it was like, okay, this is from episode 3, this is 6, this is 5, this is 2. I don't know if I took it home with me emotionally, but there was no way to not work, come home and prepare, work, come home and prepare, because you had to keep the story straight
Yeah.
in your head where you were emotionally. So sometimes, yeah, I just had to stay in it for the whole week or whatever. And then other times it was less hectic for me.
Yeah, we both took the episodes and just wrote our own little one-line log line. So the journey of everything, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could go to episode 6 and see this is the scene where you do X, and know that it's got to be set up and by the thing in 5 and 7. And I mean, you had to be able to pull out the A to Z and go, we're doing M today, and know where you've been and know where you're going. That got easier as we started running out of episodes, but that was a big McGill at the beginning. It was like you're staring at Mount Everest.
Jeff, you talked about doing theater and how you sort of had this conversation about, moving over to TV. And I feel like TV and film are almost synonymous right now. But the fact that both of you have done theater, TV, and film, do you have a favorite medium?
I really like what we're doing with American Rust. I like the writing that we're able to do. I like that places like Showtime aren't going, pull it back, might be offensive. They're not doing that. Too disturbing. They're going, go further, do more, take them further. That reminds me of Off Broadway, where there wasn't anybody worried about what people would think or sponsors or anything like that. So I really like that. I'll always love the theater. I owe it a lot. But if I had to do one thing for the rest of the run, it would be, probably that American Rust kind of, let's do it. in front of a camera. Yeah, that'd probably be it. But going back to stage. So what do I know?
That's right, you are. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Maura, what about for you? I know you've done all three mediums.
I have, and then I've mostly worked in television, which I really enjoy. And I have close relationships with pretty much all the showrunners of starting with news radio that I've ever worked with. I'm in touch with these people. And so I think I might feel most comfortable there, but I also occasionally do work with a theater company called the Wooster Group in New York, which is an experimental theater company, which I came to only 10 years ago. And I have to say, for me, that's really exciting because it's nothing like television. It's so technical and it's so challenging for me, and I'm so out of my depth in it that I'm always excited to get a chance to do that. I love doing that as well.
I mean, most people kind of start in theater and then, begin film and TV careers. You became involved with the Wooster Group just 10 years ago when you were already an established actor?
Yes. But I don't know. I had a deep, I'm not usually so bold, but I wanted to work with them. So I went and I had a meeting with them, and they let me do a play with them. And it sort of changed my life.
Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us. And I want to remind everyone that American Rust airs on Sunday nights on Showtime at 10 p.m. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, everyone, for watching at home.